My dissertation, my PhD, all of my work, my research is actually in information systems. However, actually when I moved to Egypt, one of the things that I noticed was glaringly lacking was the notion of ethical business practice. And so I started to become interested in the field, and I actually introduced a course on ethics in the business school at AUC and subsequently in leadership. So I'm a professor of leadership and ethics, but truly my heart is information systems. I just want to let you know, so if I give you some IT examples, you'll know where that comes from. I also happen to direct a program in entrepreneurship and leadership at the American University in Cairo. Some of you may have heard about it. It is funded by Goldman Sachs, and it is targeted towards women entrepreneurs, people that have businesses, women that have businesses, and we have a very, very selective and rigorous selection process. We take about 10% of people that apply. We put them through similar to what you're doing today, but it's like a 200-hour course. And after they graduate, we actually provide them with services for 5 years. We've graduated 235 women so far. We're very proud of our women. They've done really well. One of our graduates just got the Fortune Global Leaders Award worldwide, and she was presented with it in Laguna Beach in California just in October. Another one was at the Clinton Global Initiative, very well recognized. Yes? Okay, all right. عايزين نعلي. All right, okay. Let me know if you can't hear me. If you want to stop me at any point and ask me questions, feel free to do that. I have no problem whatsoever. So that's a little bit about me. So entrepreneurship has been what I do for the last maybe 3 or 4 years, especially in the Middle East region. And I understand some of the challenges you're facing, and they're not just on ethics. I know there's a lot of challenges, but the focus of today is on business ethics practices. I start with a quote, which is perhaps a little bit controversial, or maybe I hope that it challenges your mind. And this is Dante. And what he's saying is, the hottest places in hell are reserved for those who, in a period of moral crisis, okay, when we have a moral crisis, ما قالش إن هم they do, corrupt acts. He didn't say that they are, immoral. What he said was, the hottest places in hell are reserved for those who maintain their neutrality, which means that you don't take a side. It means that you don't stand up when people do something wrong. Okay, that to me is a very powerful statement. So it's not just about, that you sit back and you say, "Ana mali." He's saying those are the worst people. They didn't take a stand either this way or that way. Does that make sense? Is that, okay. All right. What is ethics? Ethics is actually new to the field of business. Okay, ethics is a long-standing field in philosophy. So we talk about ethics and morality in philosophy. But in business, it's actually relatively new. So some of the concepts that we discuss are philosophical in nature, but they're actually very, very practical, because each of you, I'm sure, even if not in business, has met with a moral situation or a moral dilemma in your everyday life. Can someone give me an example, maybe in your business, of something that you faced recently, where you basically sat back and you didn't know what to do because it was a moral dilemma? What's your name?
My name is
Hussein Mahgoub.
Our Ismi company. We were incubated for 3 years at the incubation in the Smart Village. Okay, and I always come across this kind of thing, but if you're constant, then you're constant. We had something called an ITAC project, where we cooperate with the university. I developed an Arabic search engine.
Okay.
And I wanted
competing with Google, yeah.
Yeah. It's going to be we're either going to run together, or one of them is going to be.
Okay.
Okay. And it was a very good opportunity, because I had someone working for me who was a student, not a student. In fact, she was a teaching assistant at Ain Shams University, and she wanted me to cooperate with the university in order to get students to do MS theses on the work that I was doing, stand on, to turn it into a consumer internet search engine. It's a good idea. Okay, so I cooperated with them, and we started the project. It started off with £250,000. It was going to go on to 2 and 3 million if I had only waited, but I couldn't wait, because in about 3-4 months, the guys there didn't know what to do. They didn't know how to parallelize something. It's called parallelization. And they offered me money from the from the source to do it myself. I said, that's what you guys are supposed to be doing. And so I put a stop to the project. I said, okay, that's it, we're out. And I told the incubation facility, ITAC, they're separate, sorry, from incubation, and they didn't like it. And they thought, what are you doing this for? Is it money you want? No, I don't want any money. I don't need a couple of £1,000 a month. I'm an entrepreneur. We can live on virtually nothing. Okay, and I was blacklisted and they were trying to actually kick me out of the incubation for about a year, trying to kick me out on the premise that we hadn't made enough profits yet. So it's supposed to be Google in 2 to 3 years, which is nonsensical. But that was the situation.
What do you think? Do you agree with what he did? Would that have been your strategy or take? So basically he took a moral stand, and the moral stand affected him and almost got him kicked out of an incubation. So, and that's really the heart of a lot of these dilemmas, is that morally things can be very clear to you, and in fact on a personal level, a lot of things are very, very clear. And when in my relationship with you as a friend, it's very easy for me to make a stand and for me to, make those moral decisions. Why is it difficult in business? Why is it more difficult in business? You can be a very sort of, moral and ethical person, have great personal values, virtues, etc. Why is it more difficult in business? Can anybody? Exactly. Exactly, because it's an economic decision. And so and I'm assuming everybody here is a for-profit business. And so if you're for-profit, you can't, you want to make an income to survive, but you also want to stand for some values. And we'll talk about that some more. We've said that already. So I say this, and I sometimes get a lot of flack for saying this. I personally think that in many cases, the ethical course of action is very clear. I really think if you take away the noise and you sit alone with yourself, it's pretty easy to know what to do. The problem is that there are other noises that come and that make it less clear, especially when they come in conflict with the demands of business. Okay? So I'm actually would like to do a case right now. You may have heard of this case already. I'd like you to, maybe get in groups of 3, is that possible? And I'd like you to discuss this case. Okay, every 3 together, okay? And read this, and I'm gonna ask you some questions about it. So just, one for each 3. Okay, so 1 sheet of paper for each 3. Maybe the 4 of you, I don't know. Or maybe you can turn around, or oops, sorry. Here you go. Are you guys in groups of 3? Do you want me to help you put you in groups of 3? All right. You don't even get one? Okay. Groups of 3. I don't have enough for everybody, so you're going to have to. Here, this is all I have. You guys know Tylenol? Yeah, Tylenol? The drug? So read it quickly. 2 minutes. 3 minutes.
There are a few left over.
Okay, there's leftover. If anybody need more? Yeah? Right here. We're in groups of 3. We're in groups of 3, and we're reading this article. Smile. Don't smile. It's also up on the screen if any of you would rather read up here. Let me know when you want me to scroll down. Okay, sure. Hannah? Is that right? Yeah. Yes, tell me your name. Ayman.
There was a medicine by Johnson & Johnson. The medicine was a pain reliever. But some bottles of the medicine have cyanide in it, ingredient. So there was some business related to this ingredient. So the public community accused Johnson & Johnson of this.
Okay. Okay, good. So, and this happened in where? Do you know? In Chicago. Okay, so people died. Okay, so Tylenol is a drug to take when you have a headache, when you have muscular pains, you take Tylenol. Tylenol is advertised in TV and as what? The brand hospitals use most. So what does that say to you when you talk about, when you think of something that hospitals use it most? So it is safe, very safe, right? And so you expect when you take Tylenol, worst case scenario, that you don't get better, right? That your headache doesn't go away. But what happened instead was people were dying from taking Tylenol. So a pretty severe blow. Was Tylenol important to Johnson & Johnson? Yes. Why is that? 17%. What's that? 17% of all profits, right, come from Tylenol. So Johnson & Johnson, a huge brand known for everything, right? Shampoo, conditioner. 17% of the profits of Johnson & Johnson come from Tylenol. Is this a problem? Yes. Okay, all right. So basically the CEO is faced with a major issue. One of them is, how do I deal with the public where people are dying from taking a drug that's supposed to make you feel better and that's supposed to be safe? And number two is, what am I going to do next? People are still dying from these capsules. Is it Tylenol's fault? Is it Johnson & Johnson's fault? Anybody know? Why not? Okay, so they actually went, anybody want to elaborate? The package itself, but well, how do you know it didn't happen in the Tylenol factory when they were producing the Tylenol? Okay, they actually went into the factory exactly, and there were no traces of cyanide whatsoever. And so they know this is not something that is their fault, okay? This is something that happened. Actually, what ended up, they discovered it was some crazy person that was actually going to the drugstore, buying the Tylenol off the shelf, opening it up. These were capsules. I don't know if you guys are old enough to remember those. You pull them apart and there's a powder inside. And so basically they were putting cyanide and putting it back on the shelf. And so it's not really Johnson & Johnson's fault, right? So if you were to advise, let's say I'm the CEO of Johnson & Johnson and I'm met with this situation. This is clearly a moral dilemma, right? A brand that is bringing in 17% of my profit, a brand that is known for safety, and it is a drug that is used by hospitals, all of a sudden is being plagued by people dying. What would you tell me as CEO? How would you tell me to react to this problem? Give me advice. Yes?
I would first look inside at the point that the capsules are easy to tamper with, so
okay.
I have to fix this one thing as a side thing internally. And for
what does that mean? Can you explain to me what you just said?
Okay, my product is somehow defective.
Right.
Although I didn't know about it.
Okay.
So I have to fix first this defect.
How are you going to do that?
In such a case, if I don't know how to change the, if I don't have already the know-how to change the capsule that's easy to be opened.
I see.
To a one-piece one, for instance, or something else.
Okay.
I have to invest in such a thing or look.
Excellent. Okay,
that's
good.
One thing. For the public or the company image, my personal opinion that if I just withdraw the quantity, although it would be a big loss, it's here like
Yes.
$1 million.
Huge loss. Huge loss.
I would rather get them back.
Okay.
Replace them with the new one with some marketing campaign and
Okay.
clarity to the public about the incident, and maybe just redesign the product again, or redesign the old campaign so people do not remember about the old thing. And I think in such a case, people would appreciate it, the public would appreciate it, and we can come back to the market.
Excellent. Very good answer. What's your name?
Muhammad.
That's actually excellent. Yes. Yes. Tell me.
I think people will be afraid of the product after that.
But what he said was we pull it off of the shelves. Yes.
Okay, my name is Muhammad. First, my first response was to make sure it's not my fault. It's not my fault.
Okay. It isn't.
I need to do it in very short time. So the next day I need to. Then when I'm confident it's not my fault, I would probably record the product as my colleague said, just to relieve any psychological.
Excellent. Very good
So
point.
I will record it not because it's my fault, because I didn't know this crazy guy. Maybe he went to other states and so on. And
Exactly. And how would you feel as a consumer if you walked into a pharmacy and you saw it in front of you? You would probably get a very, it's a psychological effect.
The next thing I can do is I would invite an independent party, maybe a university, a research center, and so on. I would finance and invest in making sure to the public, because I made my first investigation that it's not my fault. I need an independent party to make sure and announce to the public that it's not the company's fault.
Okay.
So maybe the government, anything like that. And I would invest and finance the research and so on, the investigation.
Okay.
And it shows my social responsibility. I think I can turn around the crisis into something in my favor.
Excellent. Very, very good. Excellent. Yes.
Yes, sir. I would agree with my colleague, but I would like to put a priority to first decision that I want to reattain the
Trust.
confidence and trust in the company product. So I will refer back to the procedure of approval of this medicine or this product. The approval gives that the government, like the FDA Association, for example, gives a very stiff procedure for the approval of the medicine. So I'm going to revisit again those tests that I did pass those tests, so my product is safe. After that, I will take the same procedure that my
Okay. Very, very good. This is really excellent. Yes. Briefly.
I would also after recalling all the batches, the defective batches, or those suspected of being defective, I would actually announce that started from batch number so-and-so, which the consumer himself can check, you're safe.
Okay, excellent. That way they know they can look and make sure that this is not something that was, right, that was an inventory, or yeah, or change the package. Would you, as CEO of Johnson & Johnson, would you apologize? You guys are just amazing. And that's actually exactly what he did. And even though it wasn't his fault, and I've actually done this case before, but you know, I guess with not as seasoned entrepreneurs as you are, and the reaction is usually, why should I apologize? It's not my fault. And what he did was actually very powerful, and it's actually, if you want to Google it on the internet, you can, and you can see the video of him speaking to the public. And he was actually on a talk show, and a mother of one of the girls that actually died called in, and it's a very, very powerful conversation where she's basically saying, you know, this is all well and good, and I understand it's not Tylenol's fault, but what do you have to say to me when I lost my daughter because she had a headache and was taking Tylenol? And his response was just, you know, he said, there's nothing I can say. All I can say is I apologize. And it was just very, very powerful to listen to him apologizing for something that he really didn't cause. And so that sounds what's the word? It's not logical, but it's so, apologizing and taking it away it just made a huge difference in terms of the public and the goodwill and the things that you guys are talking about, because everybody knew that it wasn't his fault, and yet for him to have the courage to say that. So, yes?
I see it's logic. Communication-wise, everybody knows now it's not my fault.
Right.
But would I lose anything if I apologize? Actually, the only thing is I can gain something, because I'm sorry because somebody was hurt because they trusted my brand.
Exactly.
It's not my fault, but they trusted me.
Very good. Perfect. Thank you. All right. Let's go back to here. And do, when you have time, when this is all over, I know you guys are very busy, but do take a look at this video because you'll be inspired. Oh, the other thing I wanted to say, which is very particular about Johnson & Johnson actually, and you can Google that as well, is, you know, and this is important, and unfortunately I don't have enough time to do everything, but I think I want you to think about this personally and for your business. One of the very important things, and when you're faced with an ethical dilemma, is you don't have time, the stakes are very high, you have to make a decision quickly. So besides the fact that I'm a good person and I have high values and whatever you want to call it, what is it important about your business to ensure that when you're faced with these moral dilemmas, that you end up with the right decision? Can you think about what you should do as your business? And especially if you grow and you have not just 5 people, but you know, thousands of people, and you want everybody to be on the same wavelength, everybody to also be making decisions that sort of fall within an umbrella of what you think your business is about and how moral your business is. Do you know what I'm alluding to or what I'm referring to? Johnson & Johnson's have a very powerful credo. You know what a credo is? It's like a mission statement. I'm sure you all have vision and mission statement for your business. If you look at it, you'll see that they have a very powerful credo, which doesn't talk about making money. It doesn't talk about making drugs. It talks about their ethics, and it talks about how they are as an organization and what they strive for. And having something that powerful enables you in a time of crisis to fall back on it. It's like your organization's values, if you will. You know, your culture, your religion, whatever you want to call it. And so it's very important as an organization that you establish those things. So what is our mission? What is our vision? Holistically, not just in terms of I make eyeglasses or I make drugs or whatever. Do you see what and you can take a look. Those are very, very important. If we had time, we could even sit and do some of those mission statements together for your business. But take the time to think about it for you personally and for your business, because when you need it, it'll be there for you. Okay. All right. So I alluded to this earlier, and basically in a nutshell, we work in impersonal organizations. You might start with a very cozy 5-person organization where you all agree and you all have the same ideals, etc. But we hope for you that all of you will grow and flourish and prosper. And so as you do that, it's important to understand that organizations are impersonal in nature. And therefore, how do you bring that personality back into a large organization such as Johnson & Johnson? And there are many, many examples of huge organizations. So on a personal level, these things might seem simple. At an organizational level, they're not simple because they're clouded by economics. They're clouded by legality. We could spend a whole 5 hours just talking about legal issues in terms of a business. So legal issues, ethical issues, economic issues, and also something else. It's very easy in business to think that deception is okay. Okay? Maybe it's not in my relationship with you. If you lie to me, I'll tell you why you lied to me. Why do we think it's okay to lie in business? You may disagree with me. You'll say, no, it's not okay. But why do you think people lie? And if you can't think of an example, I'll give you an example of how people lie. I have big feet. Okay? I go to shoe stores, and most of the time, I can't find my size. Okay? I'll find a shoe that I really like. Okay? I'm not going to tell you what my shoe size is. So the salesman will come to me, I'll give me one shoe size smaller. And what does he say to me? هتوسع. And I want the shoe so badly that I've often actually been persuaded to buy the shoe. I know he's lying. He knows he's lying. But we both, I don't walk out of there and say, what a liar, what a crook. I don't have that feeling. Why is that? What's that?
I want to accept the lie.
You want to accept it. And why is it okay for him to lie? Why? Why? Well, but why is it okay for him to lie? Why am I? Huh? He got used to lying. Why? It's a business. Okay, and what does that mean? It's a culture, huh? It's all about making money. He's probably on a commission. If he sells 10 shoes a day, he gets something. Okay? And so we accept that, even though we may not accept it on a personal level. So it makes it so much more difficult in a business to establish this, high moral grounds that we might establish at a social, even though we don't, but, assuming that we do. Okay? Okay, the other thing that actually was highlighted a little bit by several of the excellent comments about the Tylenol case was the level of decision making. And this is important also for you as entrepreneurs. Because when you make a decision, it doesn't only have to be at the individual level. Okay, so again, when we talk about morals, unfortunately people just think about personal morals. But when you make a decision, you're making it because of who you are as an individual. Okay? You're making it because of who you are as a organization, which is why I was trying to tell you it's important to establish your personal mission statement, your organization, who is this organization? And trust me, organizations with character and missions and credo last through time. And I have many, many examples. The organizations that believe in who they are, establish who they are, family-oriented businesses which start with a strong character actually sustain through time. Organizations that flounder, that don't know who they are, that don't have a strong foundation of their morals and ethics and their established business behavior, don't actually last through time. And corruption, I know, abounds in our country. However, I think you can see examples, and it's kind of interesting to be talking about this today. I did this about a year ago, and we had a conference from people all over the region, and everybody was challenging me that I'm a Pollyanna and that, business in the Middle East can only survive in this fashion. Look around you, how people get away with murder, and the most rich people are, the ones that cheat and lie and so on. And I think in some sense, I hope people have seen that that can't last forever. And that has always been, my take, that you can be profitable in the short term, but you will never, and I stand by never, be profitable in the long term. So if you're establishing your business to sustain you, your lifetime, and your kids' lifetime, you better think about this. Because believe it or not, character, it has been established by research to be the most important thing for a business and a human being. More than your skills, more than your smarts, more than your intelligence, character. Character and integrity are at the heart of relationships and organizations, and actually sustainability and long-term profit. Okay, so why am I saying this? So individual organization. There's a third thing we haven't talked about, which I think is very important, which is an industry-level decision. For the case of Johnson & Johnson and Tylenol in particular, and I think you said it, what is it that can you do at the industry level to prevent, and that could actually be very powerful at a goodwill public relations level, what can you do to prevent from more people from dying from, you know, drugs? What can you do? It's actually been done, yes?
Reviewing the inspection and testing procedures.
Okay, what else? But see, this is after they were on the shelves, so in some sense, okay, you actually said it, but that's not what you said.
Increasing the awareness of the public.
Aywa? Say that again? Exactly. And that's actually what Johnson & Johnson did, was they basically said, you know what, these capsules that you open up and, you know, are subject to tampering are not a very good idea. And so at the industry level, you know, at the pharmaceutical level, they basically eliminated capsules, and so you can't really find them anymore, those capsules that you could. So as a business, you not only think about yourself, your customers, your organization, but it's also important to be a player in the market, to be a leader. You say, you know, we're going to change this, collaborate with people like you, collaborate with other organizations, and make a statement and make it a better environment for yourself, for your customers, and for everybody else that competes with you. So these are 3 different levels I want you to think about as you're making decisions. Is this good for my organization? Is this good for me? Is this good for the industry? Okay? All right. And we did this, so I'm not going to go over it again, but basically, again, if you were, there's like sort of 3, it's a Venn diagram, so 3 things. The economic character of the decision, is it legal? In most cases, if something is illegal, in most cases, people don't do it. The gray area comes when it's legal, but not necessarily moral. And I'm sure you can think of examples of things that are legal, but you know, you don't feel very, you know, some people say, do the sleep at night test. Can you sleep at night? Okay, what would your mother think? What would your father think? These are simple things that we basically, to let your spirit be alive, your gut, you know, is this really the right thing to do? Okay, so 3 aspects of decision making. And so on, that's considering the benefit and harm for everybody and trying to increase the utility, okay, in economic sense. Respecting the essential humanity of others is a dignity argument. And so the first one is about the consequences of the action. The second one is about the action itself. Is it moral to do this regardless of consequences? So my uncle can be a terrible human being, a miserable man, and he's dying in the hospital, and he refuses to install safety devices in his factory, and people are dying because of it, and he's stubborn, and he will not do that. Okay? If I let my uncle die or maybe ask the doctor to kill him in the hospital, a lot of people will benefit from it. Okay? One person will die, many people will benefit. Argument number 1 will tell you to do what? Kill my uncle. Does that make sense? Probably not, right? Because we're human beings and we have respect for other human beings and their dignity. And so argument number 2 says that the dignity and humanity of all. So these are conflicting philosophies that would lead you to different decisions. And so it's important, like I said, as a human being, that you're well grounded in these things, so when you're faced with these decisions that you have to make quickly and the stakes are high and they will affect your entire business, your entire family, your livelihood, you make a decision as to how you want to make them. The third one is the same, treating others with equality, fairness, and justice, caring for people in ways that nurture relationships. And this is very important, being impartial, okay? And we'll talk about it a little bit later, but it basically means that do you know what impartial means? It means not biased, okay? So, you know, when I'm making a hiring decision, I look at everybody based on their qualifications. Even though you might be my sister, I shouldn't factor that into the equation because I'm being impartial. So that's a very, very important factor in business. And it becomes more important if it's a competitive environment and you want to be profitable. If you don't want to be profitable وعايز تعمل favors, fine, hire your sister. She may not be the best one for the job, so you lose. If she's the best one for the job, then you're hiring her because of her qualifications. And that's very, very important, that we make decisions based on people's qualifications and being impartial rather than other things. Does that make sense? Because if it doesn't matter and you're in a monopoly and you raise the steel and nobody else produces steel, then that's fine. Go ahead and do that and do whatever you want to do because it doesn't matter. But if you're in a competitive, market-based system, you will be forced to be impartial and to make moral decisions rather than ones that are based on mahsubiyya. Does that make sense? Okay. This is just a little quote by Martin Luther King. If you want to move people, it has to be towards a vision, which is why I'm saying your vision, your mission, your goals are very, very important to you as an organization. If you haven't established those yet, I strongly urge you to spend some time thinking about who you are as a business. That vision has to be positive for everybody in your organization that taps values not only important to me, but important to you. So let's say I'm the CEO and you all work for me. Then I should be able to tap into your strengths and make you want to work towards that vision, which is a common vision for all of us. That will give you something that you desire, not just me and my organization. I also have to make you want to do it, because when you're happy and you work hard, at the end of the day, you make my entire organization successful. That gives you something that you desire, that I can present to you in a compelling way, and so you can be inspired to follow. So this is all good, and let's say that we've reached the point where we understand how to make these, that there are different ways to make a decision. And, I give the example of, I have the best of intentions. I'm a moral, wonderful human being. And however, I don't know how to get there. Okay? And that's what the example I'm giving here. I can see that the child is drowning. I have the best intentions. I want to save the child, but I don't know how to swim. And so if I jump in the water, both myself and the child will drown. And so the idea is to practice, to basically, like I said, establish those. What is your organization? What are you about? And then experience and practice being placed in these situations and making decisions. And actually, there's a whole bag of tools that enables you to make these decisions. We'll talk about some of them. So in general, with every decision, you have to make a decision that is profitable. Okay? If you continue to make decisions that don't give you economic value, then you will not be able to sustain your business. They also have to be legal, but they also have to be ethical. So ethical, defensible, and satisfying the demands for business, economic performance, and legal obligations. What are some ethical misconceptions? Can somebody help me before I actually show you? Ethical misconceptions. يعني حاجات الناس بتقولها which are not correct, that are wrong about ethics. Yes?
You want something wrong?
Yes, something wrong. As an example.
Downloading things from the internet.
Okay, so do you think it's okay to, I guess if it's for free, it's okay. But yeah, stealing things, pirating, okay? We agree that that's not okay. All right. No, I didn't mean like situations. I meant like misconceptions in people's heads about ethics. يعني مثلا, as you walk into this room, okay, and you chose to come to the ethics session instead of going to the finance session and using ratios. What are some of the things that maybe people in the other room are thinking about ethics? What are some misconceptions? You see my question? Yes?
Omission of some information.
Okay, that if I don't tell you the whole truth, that I'm not lying, that I'm still being ethical, right? Okay, I'll give you actually a business example of something like that. Let's say that I'm a salesperson and I'm based on commission, okay? And you come to me and I tell you, I'm going to sell you some office supplies, okay? But I know for a fact that the supplier of these things will not deliver on time, and I know you really need them, okay? It's not my problem. I'm going to sell them to you, and there's a third party that's doing it. Am I being completely ethical by telling you that? No. All right, and so that's an example of not giving an example of the whole truth. How about you learn ethics at home and everybody learns their ethics and at a young age? Why are you talking to me now about this? Yes?
No, I want to comment on your
Yes, go ahead.
The issue of the supplier and salesperson.
Yes.
It's interesting to me to know how I do this from a religious background.
Mm-hmm. بالظبط. It's the right thing to do. Yeah.
For those who don't have religious background, so what would be the reference for them?
Okay, that's.
I've done my part. I will send you. I will give you the
مشكلة.
I don't care or it's not my fault.
Okay.
Or not my responsibility.
Okay.
That is applying.
Are you asking me or are you going to tell me?
No, asking. So,
Okay. I think somebody has an answer. Huh?
Not an answer, actually an answer to your earlier question.
Yes.
Ethical misconception.
Uh-huh.
I would say like ethics can usually gets in the way of business or gets in the way of good economic.
Okay, good, very good, and that actually very well links with the question. So ethics gets in the way of business, right? If I'm ethical, then I will make less profit. I will refuse to tell the salesperson that the stuff won't be delivered, and therefore, if I tell him I won't make the sale, I will lose my commission, and so on and so forth, right? Can anybody argue against that? Yes.
I think it means that you're probably going to win this customer for a long term, and you're going to have a better long-term relationship. So you're basically losing short term, but you're winning in the long term.
Okay, excellent. Do you buy that? I agree 100% that you will win in the short term. And maybe the short term could be multiple years, but then you lose somebody that he will probably never come back to you again. And it's really kind of interesting because even in this country with small businesses, I remember as a child with small businesses, on the street, there was that element of morality and ethics, which was much more important than anything else. There was a great deal of trust and it almost became a personal relationship where, the person, the supermarket or the akwagi or whatever, it's just very, very, so we actually do have a very solid grounding on good business practice with relation to, an ethical level. And so I'll give you another example, and
I didn't get my answer yet.
no, I'm going to tell you another answer. Okay.
I'm not talking about business. I'm talking about the personal values.
Okay.
For a
All right.
person
Okay.
who does not have a religious background.
Okay. So this is a misconception, actually. This is a misconception. Yes. Yes.
Our ethics are fixed in ethics are well known that we are agreeing on all the ethics, or maybe in Japan they have ethics different from me than in the US. I think this is related, maybe religious or social level background. Maybe this, I think I have the same question.
That's a really good point. Yes. Yes.
Related to religion, or if we keep religion aside, pure ethics, I think they go side by side.
Absolutely.
Ethics plus business equal reputation, and that's really what's the core of the business. So your example, if I screw up with my customer because someone else will do that, maybe if I do it once or twice on the short term, for sure I will, but on the longer term, I screw my whole business. So
Absolutely.
reputation.
And then, God, we could give examples and examples of people in this country that have ripped off millions, right? And maybe at the time, I remember, and I'm not going to mention names, but I remember as a teenager, as a person in my 20s, business people that were literally, misleading and made huge amounts of money for a long time. Okay, and with very educated people that actually ended up being, what I call suckers. They basically fell for it, and these people ended up, obviously in jail or, out of the country or whatever. But yes, in the short term, people will fall for it, and you will make a profit. But I really do believe that you can't do it in the long term. And I want to still answer your question because I haven't. Home Depot in the United States, which is actually in the news these days, but actually Home Depot. Home Depot is a home improvement store. It's huge. It's a big warehouse. You walk in. If you want to build a house, you can build a house from Home Depot. You can get the wood. You can get everything, and the nails, whatever you want, from Home Depot. There was a hurricane, okay, in the 1980s. Well, actually, I lived in the States, and people were actually evacuating, and they were terrified, and they wanted wood to block out their homes. They wanted to just, nail the windows so the houses don't get blown away or whatever. And it was and Home Depot, it was a small island, and Home Depot was the only place where they could buy this stuff. Home Depot could have easily doubled the price of the materials because it was, and basically say, I don't have enough and I want to meet demand. And there were 100 arguments you could make for them to increase the price. Instead, what do you think they did? They lowered the price. So they actually reduced it to cost and basically tried to ensure that everybody had material to protect their homes. That was a stupid business decision in the short term. Was it wise in the long term? Absolutely, because people became completely loyal and don't want to go anywhere else. And we can do it. Actually, there are scenarios and examples of, the fairness example. And a lot of people will make bad economic decisions because of morality, excuse me. You know what I mean? Because I trust you, and I do it all the time. I trust you. You are 20% more expensive, but I will pay the 20% because of that trust and that relationship. Don't abuse it, but I mean, it's important for you to recognize that actually morality and economic benefit actually do go hand in hand. And so that's a very powerful thing to remember. Did they answer your question? I think I did. All right. Yes.
I wonder whether this actually fits inside that scope. I always come across salespeople working with me who, when we were asked about specs for a particular software product, for example, if we don't have it, they said, say we do have it. I'm always against this.
Yes, yes.
What is your opinion on that? Does it come under ethical misconception? It's okay to say that?
Yeah, I think it does. And again, it's up to you. I'm not telling you what to do. What I'm telling you is you need to decide what you're comfortable with, what you can sleep with at night, what's going to make your business profitable, and what you can lead everybody in your organization and rally them around. And it's obvious that you have a high level of moral, values, and that is who you are, and that's who your business is. And I would strongly encourage you to keep it up, because I think that you will be notorious for that and people will respect that, especially, actually, I hate this argument. People tell me everybody does that. I argue that if everybody does that, this is your time to get a competitive advantage and be different. I mean, it's just perfect. We talk in business school, in MBA programs, we talk about how are you different? What is your competitive advantage? If everybody around you is corrupt and is lying, wouldn't you like to be known to be the one that is doing the honest and, and delivering results and will not lie and will not tell you something, but rather actually err on the side of caution and say, you know what? This may happen, but I really want to be honest with you. These are not part of the specs of this software. They may be, so I don't want to completely eliminate it, but I just want you to know. And when people under-promise and over-deliver, it is the best way to do business, and it is the best sentiment and the best sort of attestment to your work. Okay? So misconceptions. Ethics are learned at an early age. We haven't answered that question. Do you believe that? Do you believe in your mom and dad taught you everything you know about ethics? No. Why not? Because life teaches you. You learn every day. What a concept. But it can only take you so far. They can only take you so far. They're critical, but they're not enough. They're not enough for you to survive in business. And you will be faced with situations. You might have the best upbringing. You might be, very religious. You might have a great cultural, grounding. But trust me, if you haven't yet, I'm sure you all have, you will be met with situations where your values don't take you very far. You don't know what to do. And so you sit there and you go, how do I respond to this? And so that's why I don't think that ethics are only established at an early age. I really do believe that you learn by situations, you learn by looking at people around you and how they respond. Everyone is ethical. I don't think I need to talk about that one. I think only if you're naive, you'd think that. Ethics cannot be taught, and is another misconception. Legality equals morality. I get that all the time. If it's legal, then it's moral. If it's illegal, then it's immoral. No, morality actually, and that's a whole conversation, but actually in the software industry, which I know a lot of you are in, why would legality not be enough? At a time when I was, in the IT business, actually there were no laws about intellectual property, about pirating software and so on. But could you tell, even though it wasn't illegal, that it was immoral? Okay, so that's an example of something that is immoral that became illegal. Okay, so many times the legal system actually lags behind the moral system. And so you can't just rely on legality as a source of information for you as to what to do, And intellectual property in general tends to be that way. And then we talked about morality does not lead to profits. I'm not going to do this. We don't have time. Okay, it's too bad, really. I wanted to do this. Categories of ethical dilemmas. What do I mean when I talk about ethical dilemmas? Taking unfair advantage. Maybe you're in a position and you can take advantage of your position, or somebody is works for you and you take advantage of that person because they are in a position where you can exercise control and power and influence over them. Committing acts of personal abuse, gaining from your business personally, okay? We have many, many examples of that. Permitting organizational abuse. Seeing something wrong happen and not speaking out for it is also an act of, an ethical dilemma, and what do you do about it? Violating rules, condoning unethical behavior. Okay, seeing somebody do something and you tell them برافو عليك والله هايل كان لازم تكذب في الحتة دي. All right? Why do good people do bad things, as they say? Why do good people do bad things? Why? Like I said, our personal values can only take you, you have the best upbringing, you pray all the time, you have all these great things. Why do you do bad things even though you have such an incredible religious background? Why do you do bad things? Can you argue with me that people that are incredibly religious don't do bad things? Yeah? Yeah? Okay. All right. So why? Okay. Profit. What else? They think it's business. Yes. دي نقرة ودي نقرة. Everybody else does it. كل الناس بتعمل كده. أنت عبيط؟ في إيه بقى؟ Everybody's doing it this way. What are you talking about? Right? إيه تاني?
Human nature.
Yes. Social pressure. Absolutely. 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 You're in. There's examples of. You can't. You can't eat. You're gonna steal. That's not a right thing to do, but you have to feed your family, and so pressure. Definitely, whatever, financial, social, whatever. What else? Yes?
Eager to make money.
Eager to make money, desperate. Yes? All right. Oops, what did I do? Okay. Way of life, poor judgment, okay? Intense and threatening corporate culture, peer pressure. Few or no personal values, just sort of lazy values, I call them. Someone who does not really grounded in their, values and on who they are. Responding to earning demands. You have pressure at the end of the year to fulfill a certain amount of sales or a certain amount of profit or whatever. And there are many others. Okay? Why should you be ethical in business? A very clear one is legal, law. You don't want to get in jail. You don't want to end up, another very clear one is religion. Your religion prevents you from doing that. That's a very powerful one. Society. You don't want your friends to know that you did that, or your wife, or your children, or your parents. Self, like I said before, being able to sleep at night, very, very powerful determinant, this one, okay? How you feel within yourself, and like how we say, it escalates as you get older, and basically with pressure around you, what is acceptable, and you want to keep ضميرك صاحي زي ما بيقولوا, because the self is very important. Organizational. And that's why I'm telling you, in your organizations, you have to establish these values. So you can have everybody in the organization set up in such a way that they understand how to behave. So you have a duty not only to yourself, but to your employees, so they behave in ways that allow your business to flourish. If I say one thing and my employees say another thing, again, that gives that's not a very consistent message. So if we want to all do the same thing, we need to have a consistent message, okay? I'm trying to pick and choose what to say. Okay, I'm going to talk about this because, it's easy to say these things when things are going fine, when your business is flourishing, when, you're making a lot of profit, you're big and happy. The problem with ethical dilemmas occur when this is happening. Okay, when you really are working hard to achieve a goal, okay? And the stakes are high. It's not just when I'm lazy and happy and everything's going well. When the stakes are high, this is your business. Your livelihood depends on it. The success of your business depends on it. So the stakes are high. It feels like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. If I don't do this now, then I can never do it, okay? I sometimes use the example of actually someone who's climbing up a mountain. And I don't know if any of you have done that. And it takes a lot of training, a lot of effort for you to get to the point, years actually, for you to get to the point where you have the athletic stamina and the preparation to climb a mountain. And what if in the middle of the climb and the ice is melting and you need to go up to the mountain, you only have a few hours to get there, you find a dying man. What are you going to do? Are you going to stop and help the dying man, or are you going to continue with your once-in-a-lifetime, high-stake opportunity? And so things like that's what we mean when we talk about ethical dilemmas. It's not just the simple, you know, should I do this or that, or, you know, but it's like things that are really, really critical and with high stakes. The pressure and stress create a high adrenaline flow. There's no time. You have to make the decision right now. You can't say, لا أنا هرجع وهسأل ده, and I'm going to go to the library, I'm going to do some research. No, it's you, and only you, and you have to make the decision right now. Save the man, continue my climb. What do I do? You don't have a BlackBerry, you don't have internet, you can't تستعين بصديق. You have to make the decision now. Okay? And you're not prepared for the ethics of the situation or the opportunity. You're not ready for it. Okay? And you're forced to make a tough. That's the other thing about ethical dilemmas. Both things make sense. If they don't, if it's very easy, black and white, that's not an ethical dilemma, I'm sorry. An ethical dilemma is when you have two things and both of them make sense. And you can argue for both of them, but one of them has a greater level of morality than the other. That's what I mean by an ethical dilemma. Okay? All right. I said all that, yes? All right, and you know, I'm gonna end with this because I think I don't want to take into the next session. But it's like, actually, in a lot of cases, this is like, I say, driving a car. You know, if you remember, you guys don't even drive stick shift. When I started driving, I started to drive with a stick shift. And it was very hard. How do I remember to press this and move that and, you know, and do all that stuff? It took a lot of work. When I drive now, I don't think about it anymore. And so in many cases, having what I call the bag of tools, the bag of tricks, combined with the experience of having done it over and over and the outcomes related to it is really what you want. And that's what we try to do when we teach business ethics. We don't teach personal values. That's not what we're doing. But rather, we're working with scenarios, situation, and a bag of tools that enables you to understand also what other people are thinking. Not only what I'm thinking, but how's the person in front of me thinking, and what are his ethics, and what are, you know, his criteria for making the decision. And so, you know, you need that bag of tricks. You need that toolkit that would enable you to do that when you're met with a high-stake ethical dilemma where the stakes are high and the choices are not as clear as a black and white. Okay, they need a little remote so I don't have to keep walking, okay? All right, I'm gonna end with this because I think that even though you may not be social entrepreneurs and you are for-profit entrepreneurs, I think the social responsibility of a business now more than ever, I would argue, is critical. Because you as a business, a profit-making business, should also have an obligation to your community, to your society, and actually, believe it or not, to politics. So a lot of people don't realize that actually as organizations, you actually need to contribute to the political environment in your country. So if you have beliefs, political beliefs, you should, as an organization, you should lobby. Maybe a concept alien to us here in this country, but very, very common in the United States, where you basically make a stand basically for what you believe politically, religiously, culturally, ethically, and for your entire society. So I will leave you with that. If you have questions, I'm happy to respond to them. I'm sorry that, you know, we only had an hour. I can do this for many hours, but I just wanted to give you a little bit of a flavor of the fact that morality and profitability actually go hand in hand and will lead you to success and prosperity within your business. Thank you very much.